everybody. Welcome back. Hello, hello. See, we already have some viewers.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi. While everyone's hopping on, I'll say a quick hello and give some housekeeping items. My name is Liz Prue, VP of Marketing here at Base, and I'm the MC of the day. If you're just joining today, we've had a blast so far, and it's pretty easy. The only rules are enjoy yourself, have fun, and comment in the chat, and get to know everybody, get to know our guests. Speaking of our guests, I'm so excited for our two guests here today. I think the best part about the space community is the people, and the people I've been fortunate enough to meet. And I met Sherry and Christina. I think Christina, I'll go you first. Christina Acosta is in our book club. And I think that's where we first met.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
In our book club. So if you guys haven't checked that out, you totally should. She is the executive assistant to equity and inclusion at UBS. She is a proactive and trusted EA. Her skills are in combining admin and operational support to deliver results in a fast-paced environment. And her skills lie in event planning, calendar management, travel coordination, and budgeting in a cost-effective manner. We're going to talk about all that fun stuff today. Thank you for joining us, Christina.
Thanks for having me.
And Sherry Meyer is, I think we actually not actually met through Phoenix Normand, but I was connected with you on LinkedIn or something through Phoenix, who we love here. And we had a lovely chat. And so I'm so excited to have you here today.
So excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Sherry has had a diverse career working in service of her country, South African Police Service, big corporations, and a startup. And she currently works as a consultant to a few growing businesses. And her work ranges from recruitment to managing administration while homeschooling her sons, which that alone makes you a superhero. And Sherry is also the chair for Tribe South Africa. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So today we've talked a lot at the Start Leading Summit about how we can do better in our roles as executive assistants. I think we're always looking in whatever you do, as a marketer, I do the same. I'm always looking for ways to improve. And sometimes I get stuck on why I started doing this in the first place. I just beat myself up for what I'm not doing instead of thinking about why do I love doing this? So I'd love to ask you both. Sherry, we'll start with you. What do you love most about your role, and what do you find the most gratifying?
I think the thing that I really love about my role is that it's a diverse role. There's so much diversity in being an EA. You have to learn so many parts of the business, and I think why I really love it is that it complements, or my personality complements, the career that I'm in, because I'm a typical explorer, experimenter. So that I think is a good pairing for just, being an EA, because you have to dive in and find solutions. And that's what exploring is about. That's what experimenting is about. So my career has been just that, diving in and exploring, experimenting in different businesses. And that's kind of the highlight for me of being an EA.
I love it. Christina, what about you?
I have to echo what Sherry has just said. It's also the various things you do. Not one day is the same. For me, I'm constantly learning new things, honing my skills, sometimes getting out of my comfort zone, which is scary at times, but it's that's the way you grow, right? For me, the rewarding part of it is ensuring that my boss is making a difference for him and making or her. And ensuring that everything runs smoothly, taking things off their plate, making sure that their deliverables are met. For me, that's rewarding.
I think you brought up a good point with, it made me think of over the last year, things have become so challenging and in so many different ways. I've started to learn, like, there's a difference between being challenged in your role and then challenged in the way that we all have over the last year. Like, it was just like, I felt so reactive and not prepared. And it was so nuts. So was there anything that you learned that you're super grateful for? And maybe you weren't grateful for that in the moment because it was so hectic and kind of trying, but was there anything that you're grateful for now that you learned, either about yourself or about something within your role?
Well, for me, it's definitely, just finding things that I really love again. I became still, because when you have to leave work every day, you are surrounded by people, you're constantly busy. When you're in your own space, you kind of have those silent moments where you are faced with yourself like 24/7. There's no one around you, you're virtual. Yes, I've got my kids and homeschooling and all of that, but it did make me think about a lot of stuff and how I'm doing it. And I realized that I gave up on certain stuff that sparked joy for me. Because, life just got so busy pre-COVID. And when COVID hit, it was such, for me, and I always repeat this, for me, COVID was a blessing in disguise, in that I could find, my rhythm again, kind of. I could dive within myself and find things that really light me up. And so I think for me, it was really important to find myself in so many ways again.
Mm-hmm. Totally. What about you, Christina?
I think for me, I have to echo what Sherry says too. It was bittersweet. The blessings for me is appreciating the little things in life and looking at the bright side. So, for instance, it gave me the opportunity to spend more time with my kids that normally I wouldn't be able to, because I'd be commuting 2 hours in each direction. Also taking, evening walks and thinking to myself and reflecting on what I've done good, what I've done bad, what my strengths, my weaknesses. So it's given me time to reflect on myself, spend time with the kids, and also just enjoying life.
Mm-hmm. Did you find that it's when you say, like, the time I spent with my kids now, those first 8 weeks, I don't even know, we call them the dark days. Like, I don't even know how we did it with the kids home and working, but now I'm grateful for it. Like, in retrospect, did you find it too?
Yes. In the beginning, it was tough. I'm like, oh my God, every day I'm seeing you, but it gave me the opportunity. I mean, I have teenage kids. So it gave me the time to actually be there for them during these critical years. Especially my teenage daughter that, she's a high schooler, a senior in high school. Being there during that critical time was really important, where she really needed me. So it gave me the time to just be there for her.
That's so great. And Sherry, remind me, you were already homeschooling your kids, correct? Or am I wrong in that, before pandemic?
Like half, because pre-pandemic they were in a kind of private type of school where we were very involved and already, but before we send them to the school, I kind of homeschooled them. And so the pandemic kind of made me just leap even deeper into this homeschooling thing.
Yeah.
So for most of the year, last year we homeschooled. My husband was obviously also at home, and he kind of led that because I worked full time from home. And then this year, we just decided to go full on homeschooling. And that's kind of what I'm doing at the moment, including some, VA kind of work.
That's great. With all that we're doing now at home, with work, with our kids, if we don't have kids, it's hard to unplug, and it's hard to prioritize professional development, even though we've had time for that now more than ever. Have there been, Christina, we'll start with you. Has there been any professional development that you started over the pandemic that maybe otherwise wouldn't have happened because of the pandemic, or just?
I think I started two things. One, I joined the book club, which is great. That I started in January, I believe. And then I also changed some things where I get up 30 minutes earlier every morning to read. That's my time to read before my day goes away from me. So I wake up 30 minutes ahead of time. I grab my coffee and I read a book for half an hour outside of my home office. So because I'm here 10 hours a day, I don't want to be here another 10 hours and a half, right? So those are the two things I started as far as professional development, is reading and joining a book club and committing myself to read one book a month.
That's great. Is it a balance of like professional development and then just any book?
Right now, it's professional development.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. That's awesome. Sherry, what about you?
For me, I wasn't really focused so much on professional development. For me, it was more about focusing on personal development, because I was in my home for so many hours, like 8 to 10 hours, just working. So that was like work overload already, professional overload already for me. And also just because I'm always active in the community and sharing and trying to learn so often, I realized that I needed to step back and do stuff, like I said previously, to light me up. So I enrolled in a Anthony Mendel's acting class, an online acting class, something that I've always wanted to do. So I did that, like an online acting class. Like later in I think November, December, I enrolled in a modeling class. And when we could go out, like in a social distancing kind of way. But I've really spent time on doing things that light me up, because it was for me just holding on to my sanity through this whole pandemic.
Yeah.
I love people and I love being around people. So it was difficult at the beginning to not be around people, but I also love my own space very much. So love my own space, but I still miss people so much. I swear, when I see people, I just want to hug them. But that is, we all had to adjust to the new kind of normal. And so I figured, why not just kind of do things that really light me up and brings joy to me, so that I can be a better mom, show up every day for my kids. Because it is difficult having a 7-year-old and an 8-year-old to homeschool as well. I'm not going to lie, these days where I just feel, why am I doing this? Why? But like these days where, like today, when my 8-year-old is reading a book all by himself, those are the moments that really spark joy for me. And that really, it lets me know it's like the universe is telling me this is what I'm supposed to do. And so I'm really grateful for those moments.
That's so great. I know it's crazy. A year ago, my almost 2-year-old was not walking. I don't even know if she was crawling. She was only drinking bottles, like wouldn't eat. My 3-year-old had a pacifier. She was in a crib. She wasn't potty trained. Now she's got, done and gotten rid of all those things. My 2-year-old's walking, and it's just like, how is that a year? Like, I don't know how that whole year passed by. And a lot of the people in the community have talked about how they've had to embrace new technology, obviously Zoom. But there have been a lot of other things that we've had to embrace. And I think, when it comes to technology, I feel like it's been a balance of learning new technology and then learning how to integrate technology into your everyday life. Like, it's almost like we can't socialize without it. You know, we haven't been able to. We haven't been able to, you know, I had to order groceries through that for a while. The line was too long, you know, to get into the grocery store, all those sorts of things. So as it relates to work, Sherry, we'll start with you. Have there been new technologies that the pandemic kind of forced you to adopt that you liked and or also wouldn't mind getting rid of when this is done?
Christina and I laughed about it because in your notes you said Zoom, laugh out loud, and we laughed out loud because both of us like went Zoom. You know, that's one application that I despise. And you know what I really discovered is before I worked for big retailers, I worked in the South African Police Service, and they used mostly like Outlook, and I basically learned everything I know, like managing an inbox and calendars and all of that from Outlook. But this other company that I started to work for, they used Gmail, and I quite liked Gmail because they've got the calendar integrated, they've got the drive integrated, they've got worksheets, like everything is so integrated, and I loved that system. And they've got Hangouts also, so I learned how to optimize those things in my work situation. I learned how to optimize those, how to use them as best as I could. And so for me, even, buying stuff online, having stuff delivered to I'm sitting at my home and I'm delivering coffee to people executives sitting in the office, for example. I mean, that was so much fun for me to try different vendors and just to see how people use this pandemic to up the game, and to use technology to their advantage. So there's so many things that I've learned, I still shop online. I don't think I want to go back to going into a store and buying stuff. I mean, it's a waste of time. I can do it like in 30 minutes, 30 seconds I can buy something. I don't have to get in my car and all of that. So technology has been really key for me, in my work, in my personal space, it's been key. So I've explored so many things. There isn't one specific thing that I can say, but the one thing that I really despise is Zoom. Yeah.
Christina, what about you?
Well, for me, I was forced to embrace our video chat system that we currently have. I mean, we've had it for a while, but now we're forced to actually use it because we're all remote. So not being able to, walk around the corner or talk to people in the pantry has been a challenge. So we've been forced to use this video chat system because it's the only means of communication. So my only interaction is through video.
Yeah.
And what we do in order for me to stay connected with people is I have virtual coffee chats, video chats with them on a monthly basis, just like Sherry does as well.
I'd love to talk to you, Christina, about aligning to executive goals. This is something that has been every session we have, it's people bring it up. They're like, how do I align to my executive goals? How do I do that? And I think, tactfully, I'd love to get down to that point because some folks are, they struggle with how do I introduce that? And I know that you now support someone new, and I apologize, I can't remember when you started supporting her.
August.
August, yes. So what was that a part of like onboarding with her, like finding out, okay, here are what your goals are, or?
No, it actually started out by me reading a book called The Founder and the Force Multiplier. And within that book, it gave me the importance of lining my goals with my manager. So I reached out to my executive. I'm like, can we align our goals? And this is perfect timing because it was like when I finished that book, it was like December. And I said to her, is there a way that we can align our goals? I think it'd be great for your immediate team to know what your goals are. So that way we can align our goals with your goals and help you meet your goals. And she's like, yeah, sure, no problem. So she just literally last week released her goals to us. And now we're just going to start aligning our goals to see how we can help her succeed in her role.
And have you seen where, and I know you just received them, but are you anticipating you can kind of, help her prioritize better just from being aware?
It just happened recently where she has many speaking engagements. And because I've already seen her goals, she's got a lot of commitments. And with those commitments, she's got a lot of speaking engagements. And just recently she was asked to do another speaking engagement. And I said, do you really want to do this? Because you have X, Y, and Z already. And through conversation, she's like, you know what? You're right. I can't commit anymore because I'm stretched. So she was thankful at the end and said, thankful for minding my calendar. So just having that information has helped me manage her better, manage her calendar in a effective and efficient way. And I think many people should a lot of the assistants, one recommendation I would say is ask your manager, ask your executives for their goals, have them write it down and share it with you, because it's only going to help you as well as the executive in the long run.
And do you have regular one-on-ones with her?
I do, but I do bi-weekly now because I could just pick up the phone and just call her, but it's bi-weekly now. And if I have any urgent stuff, what I do is end of the day, I'll do a download of any questions I have for her, any notes, anything that I've done, what's on the horizon. Every night I send her end of day download, and it has helped her because has so many emails that why do I want to send her one more email?
Right. Exactly. Sherry, you have such an entrepreneurial spirit, and I know that you consult several businesses, and I'd love to hear when you first start working with them, what are those biggest value props that you really pride yourself on delivering on? I think that these tips could be great for a lot of our viewers watching today.
I think for me, key is finding out what the key deliverables are, and also just asking the question, what is your burning issue at the moment, and how can I be of service to you, and how can I find a solution? So like I consult in different businesses, and all of them have different needs. And so it also helps me to do research. So I do a lot of research, and one of my clients are based on the African continent, but they're international also. So they host international events. So it helped me to go and do some research on it, and just when I spoke to the CEO, I could relate to her, and she felt comfortable, saying, okay, will you do this for me? And I just started taking over tasks, and the more I take over, the better for me, of course, but also good that she can trust me. And because we are establishing a relationship virtually, it's also key for me to just be on top of my game. So for me, it's always about research and just asking around, connecting with other people in the company as well. So that's been really key for me with my current clients.
And a lot of these things fall under what we, really being a strategic resource and what that looks like. I'd love to ask you both, Christina, we can start with you. What being strategic means to you, because it's something that we hear all the time. And then our community is like, well, what does that actually mean? Like, how do I start doing that and making that a part of my everyday?
So for me, recently supporting my new executive, I have really been living in her inbox. And by me doing so, it has given me the opportunity to forecast what's coming up, what are her priorities, so that way I can manage her calendar better. So I can make suggestions or respond on her behalf. And the benefits of having her access to her inboxes too is knowing her communication style, so that way I can respond on her behalf seamlessly. And that has gained me a lot of insight as to who she is as a person, what she's doing in her role, how is she being strategic, how is she growing, who is she speaking with, and I try to fill the gaps that way. So for me, I'm aligning myself also to become her strategic partner by being ahead of the curve.
And it's almost totally, and it's almost like you have to show them what that means. Like, I can do this. Let me show you how I can be strategic, like really taking that initiative.
Yes. And she has seen that. So it's working. So I'm grateful for that. And she does see me as part of the team and as her partner, because I've gone above and beyond to show her these things.
Yeah.
So I would recommend that.
Do you have any advice for someone who maybe has been supporting the same person for a while and, doesn't have that opportunity of, hey, this is new, let's establish what this looks like? What recommendations would you have for people that need to maybe reestablish with the exec or executives they support?
I would say definitely have those weekly meetings. Show your strengths. Tell them what you see. If there are any gaps, recommend what they can help them with. I think it's just expanding your going above and beyond is what I would recommend.
Yeah. Sherry, what does being a strategic resource and partner mean to you? What does that look like? And I know you talked a little bit about that before, but would love to hear really what your definition of that is.
Christina echoed a lot of what I actually wanted to say, but what I can add is that I think lockdown has really taught me to up my communication, my communication game, so much so that I was working for an executive whom I didn't see at all, didn't have one-on-one time, but I had access to his inbox. So for me, it was important to get ahead of things. And so just reading every single email. And then what I did to kind of become a strategic partner is to show up for him in ways that he didn't think I could. For example, at every single day, he had back-to-back meetings. So every single day at a certain time, I would add a calendar note for him with all of the outstanding points that he needed to do for that day. For example, he would get meeting requests, he had deadlines, and because I went through his email so diligently every day, I could put notes for him at the end of the day. And he called me up one day and he said, you know what? I don't talk to you every day. You may think that I don't see what you do, but I just want to tell you that those notes, they make a hell of a difference. So in that way, I aligned myself strategically with the way he works and what he needed at that point in time. And over time, it grew, the relationship grew, and I became more strategic where I saw that, he's got to focus on business, but he's also focusing on HR kind of things like recruitment. And I said to him, I've actually built a relationship with HR and recruitment. Can I please take that over from you? And he said, go for it. And I did it. I set up interviews. I prepared him for the interviews. Small things like that. I think my advice would be start with the small things. And then, the executive will start trusting you and start giving you more responsibility. And that's just what I find over the years helped me start with the small things.
I would also like to add, which I've added when I started working with my executive, is insert yourself in their meeting invites, in their meetings. Ask them, can I attend this meeting? Can I attend that meeting? I just want to listen. I just want to be in listen mode only. And that opportunity she has given me, and I joined many of her meetings as listen only. It has given me an opportunity to get to know the business, get to know what she's doing, listen to what the priorities are, take note of what the actions that come out of those meetings. So that way you can get ahead of the curve and say, okay, this is what I heard. Did I hear this correctly? Should I, writing it down where she needs to give her time on her calendar so she can action out these items for yourself. You get to learn the business. That way you can help her or him in her role.
That's great advice. I love that. A lot of folks have said too, yeah, that's also an opportunity to remind them of assignments that were given or what was previously discussed. Yeah, that's great advice. And for those of you, Sherry, you brought up a good point too with start with the small things. I'm going to drop a link to our 30-day challenge, guys. This helps with just starting those cadences. It is leveraging our digest and decision stream tool, but it's starting small. It's saying, hey, I'm going to, and whether you're using base or not, I'm going to start sending you, and whether it's that end of day download, like Christina was talking about, you can expect to receive this at this time. Here's the value it's going to be providing. And if you clearly, I'm asking you guys, have you ever had someone say no when you're saying, hey, I'm going to start doing this for you. It's going to deliver X value. Who's going to be like, I'm good. I
think it actually, like Sherry said, you start small, you start developing the trust between you and the manager, the executive. And once they know that they can trust you, they'll start giving you more and more assignments because they can trust you, and they won't be asking you, did you do this? Did you do that? So
yeah. I think also, I think in the course of my career, I've learned that emotional intelligence is really important in this game. In the game of being an EA, you have to read people. You have to learn to read people very well. From CEOs to the cleaner to the tea lady. You have to be able to communicate really well and effectively with everyone. So it's really important that you communicate what your value is as well. And a lot of us downplay our value. And I think one piece of advice that I like to put forward in the EA community is don't downplay your value, like, for example, I in one of my roles, I had to make it very clear to an executive that I'm not just there to fetch your lunch. I can do myriads of stuff. And I realized I can't just say that. I have to show up and show him because he doesn't have trust in me. I'm new, so I have to build the trust. So it's kind of a two-way relationship as well. And I think if you find that executive that you can build a relationship with, you kind of you feel confident, and then you show up confident, and you do more, and you want to do more, and I think the appreciation for you also grow. And I know there's a lot of people who sit in relationships with executives who think to themselves, oh, but I can't do this with this person because they don't appreciate me, and the relationship isn't good, it's not feeling good. I think if you just take a step back and just, ask yourself, what am I here to do? What is the value that can add and that I want to add, and focus on that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Have you found that if you've inserted yourself, you've done kind of the first step in making sure that you're integrating yourself more into what your executive's goals, have you ever had to push back? And if so, how do you go about doing that? Whoever wants to take that one first. That's a bit of a
Absolutely. There was a point where I supported 4 executives at the same time. And 2 of them would come to me with tasks that wasn't really work related. It was like, go and fetch my laundry, go and get lunch for me. And I felt very offended. I was much younger, and I felt very offended. Right now, if someone were to tell me, do those things for me, I would be pretty boundaried, because I know my worth, and I know why I'm there and what I can deliver. I felt offended at the time, but I think learning how to set the boundaries from the beginning is really important. Have that conversation, when you meet for the first time, have that conversation. So what is the no-goes for you? And I can tell you what is the no-go for me. And so then we can establish that running for coffee and fetching your laundry is not on my list of things to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think being upfront with those kind of things settles a lot of dust in the beginning.
Absolutely. Christina, have you ever had to push back on additional projects or tasks, and how did you approach that?
I think something similar happened where I did support 4 executives at one time, and I had to push back because they were giving me all assignments at the same time. And I said, okay, which one is a priority? You need to talk amongst yourselves and let me know what is a priority here, because I didn't know. So I had to set the boundaries there as well. Other boundaries I had to set is texting me or calling me at like 9, 10 o'clock. I had one executive that one time called me at 1 o'clock in the morning just to make an appointment, travel plans for his daughter at 1 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, so the next day, of course, I politely told him, morning. But it's just setting those boundaries and ensuring that you stick to them, because if you don't set them, then it's not clear to them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think that's a good point. And for those viewing too, I think I found this with my role too. I think it's really any position that you're in, it's knowing what's most important to hitting those executive goals, but also your own personal bandwidth. And, maybe all of the things you're being assigned is helping your executive hit their goals. But at some point there needs to be a cutoff. I can think of, my goal is to be the best mom in the world. I can't do all the things as much as my kids would like to think I can. I absolutely cannot. Something's got to give. So I think recognizing what those limitations are, it's so important, and it's important for your mental health, and just not losing the joy that you find in your job too, for sure.
Can I also just add that I think it's also a personal choice. If you want to go and do fetch the laundry, make coffee, serve lunches. But I think, you know what, COVID has taught us something. Who brought his lunch at home? Who did the fetch the laundry at home during COVID, when we were all virtual? And COVID showed us that our executives don't need us on that level. It is a nice to have, and I believe it should be a personal choice. So if you are working with an executive that needs you in that regard, for me, that's more personal choice. And so for me, the personal choice that I'm making is not to do stuff like that, because I'm here to do a job, and that's not part of the job description. And by the way, that is never on a job description. I can't remember a job description that I've seen with those specifications on. So I think it's a personal choice. Whether you do personal tasks for your executives, that's up to you. For me personally, it doesn't work.
Absolutely. Know those boundaries. Well, I can't believe how fast all these sessions have gone by. It's literally like I look up and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's already almost 3:00. Ladies, this has been absolutely wonderful. I'm so glad that we got to have this chat today. And everyone, if you want to connect with them, drop your LinkedIn in the comments. They're both in the community frequently. We're going to try and do more things like the book club. I know, Christina, you and I talked about doing other breakouts within the book club, maybe discussing certain chapters and stuff. So maybe we'll get with Kelsey. Kelsey manages the book club, and she's awesome. So if you want to get involved with that, just drop them in the comments, and we'll get you some details. The founder and the Force Multiplier co-author is going to be speaking at 4 p.m. today, and I'm so excited. So make sure you tune in for that. But ladies, thank you so much again. This has been absolutely fantastic. I really appreciate you taking the time today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for the invite. It was lovely. Love having these conversations, really.
Awesome.
Yeah,
all right, guys. Well, we will.
To me.
No, go ahead, Christina. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
If anybody else wants to reach out to me directly, they're more than welcome to as well.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. And we'll see everyone back at 3:00 for the Loom demo. An awesome video product. More technology.
Good night.
Bye, guys.